Comics of 100 Years Ago, September 26th, 1924. It's Little Orphan Annie by Frank King. Up the steps of the house comes the second most important character in the Little Orphan Annie strip. It's Mr. Warbucks in a checked suit, a bowler hat, a cane, and carrying his coat thrown over his arm. Annie sure has lots of question marks and exclamation points above her head as she looks out the door at him, and the butler says, "I would suggest, Miss Annie, that you remain out of sight for a bit." In comes Mr. Warbucks, throwing the cane and coat to the butler and slamming the bowler hat down on the butler's head. He says to Mrs. Warbucks, "Hello, General," and then to Mrs. Warbucks, "And if there isn't my little iceberg. Sorry as usual to see me home." "Oliver, don't be so coarse, and in front of the servants, too," Mrs. Warbucks says. He looks up at the fish that was mentioned in the last strip, which has a very goony grin on its face, and he says, "Well, fish, I'm home again. I'll bet you're glad to see me anyway." And he peeks from behind the wall, and now Mr. Warbucks, in his suspenders, is eating his dinner. He's got his checked coat thrown over the back of his chair to one side, and says to the butler, "Say, few brains, are you going to stand there till this plate's empty? You keep another load of pig knuckles and sauerkraut waiting here on the siding, see?" "Yes, sir." Mrs. Warbucks looks aghast and holds her hand to her head.